To have a commentator for this?
Author Blue should be hopping in on the call.
All right. Yeah, I tried to add him here, but it's not answering. It seems.
Just messaged me.
Oh, there is. Nice.
Hello, friends.
Yo.
Hey. It is time for the main event.
Indeed.
All
What
5 hours of Dragon Warrior was just in preparation for this moment.
This is what everybody has been waiting for. The clamoring can stop.
All right, so
Sega on NES.
I'm gonna put your audio on the stream, and I'm ready to go with the countdown in like 30 seconds.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool. Countdown in like 30 seconds.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool.
Are we on live now?
Yeah, we're ready.
I mean, you are up front.
Oh, I am? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We're ready.
Well, as I said, this is what everybody has been clamoring for. This is Alien Syndrome, a Sega game on the NES, and the nice thing about this is it has no marathon strats. It is straight up going to be the normal run. So, I'm ready to start if you are. Good. Okay. Timer starts at first player movement. If you guys are ready. Okay. And now. So again, this is Alien Syndrome. This is an arcade game that was actually ported to almost every system known to man. It's made by Tengen, released by Tengen, which was an unlicensed developer for the NES. And I grew up playing this game. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun co-op game. And the only speedrunners for this game are me and Dying Camel. So if you like it, give him a follow as well. So we're gonna see how we can do here.
The general premise of this game is that you're running around and you have to rescue all of your comrades in each stage. And once they're all rescued, a door will open to go fight a boss in the boss room. And then you move on to the next stage. So there's 6 stages of that total.
Yes.
And he's going to be walking around. You'll see on the walls, he'll be collecting these icons that have different letters on them. Most of them are weapon upgrades or weapon changes. A few of them, the letter W, are actually warps. If you're playing this game casually, the warps would probably be very confusing just because it's hard to sort of get a sense of the space that you're in, but the speedrun does get to use a few of them to move around a little more quickly. This game's really just all about optimized movement, taking
Nice,
as little damage as
two-cycle.
possible.
I have
Very
trouble getting the 2-cycle consistently, so there's a death. So the deaths do not take very much time up, as you can see. So this run will not be deathless. I just need to not game over. I have never gotten a deathless run in the entire, probably a couple thousand runs that I've done. So it's unlikely that that will happen anytime soon.
About halfway through the game, also, the enemies get a lot more frustrated in each stage, so the likelihood of it being deathless is low anyway.
Yeah, so the one thing I learned from actually Jeff in Auth's chat is that there can only be 3 enemy sprites on the screen at once, so I am starting to use that to help, but they do spawn randomly as the screen moves. There doesn't seem to be a discernible way to manipulate the patterns.
Though that information does allow you to kite the enemies around a little bit, because if you can keep 3 on screen, then you know no more are going to spawn.
Yeah. So the main weapon that I'll use, which is probably the least fun to use in a casual run, is the flamethrower, just because it's got a really wonky hitbox and how it deals damage over different frames. I don't actually really understand completely how it works, but it is the best for enemy quick kills. When you're casual playing the game, the laser can be really helpful because the laser, whew, that was tight.
Goes through enemies, yeah.
Yeah, the laser goes through enemies, so you can kill multiple enemies in one shot. There is one boss we will need to use the laser on, and I'll explain that in a second. So if the flamethrower hits a projectile or anything like that, it'll stop. It will not hit anything behind that, whereas the laser will. So we'll use that on the next boss. But you'll see how quickly I can kill this boss with the flamethrower, with the strat here in just a moment. So
yeah, the really confusing thing about the flamethrower is that even as he was saying, you know, when you hit a projectile or something with the flamethrower, it stops dealing damage. But the projectiles, or the flamethrower's sprite still stays extended, so you might end up being very confused why it's not dealing any damage.
Okay. The first 3 levels are pretty straightforward and easy. Hey, Shiner. Yeah, what's up, man? This is my favorite level because the boss is a giant sponge that shoots bacon at you, in my mind. And then these enemies throw their eyeballs at you as weapons, which is...
Pretty sure that's canon.
Oh, that's bad. That's just bad RNG. The problem with... It would be easy for me to get a deathless run. The problem is, as you can see, the death animation takes like a second and a half. So it makes more sense for me to be incredibly aggressive than to try and stop and kill an enemy that I think will kill me. Over the course of the run, it's pretty much guaranteed to die a couple times just from aggressiveness, but that's okay. I'm going to use a warp here again, like he was saying. Routing this game was fun because the movement is so slow that it's very important to get every enemy exactly in order. And you'll notice I also walk in diagonals a lot to save time. So the movement is a really huge part of this game, which makes it a really not interesting speedrun, but it's probably one of the more boring speedruns, but I love it, so you guys should.
Well, it's more of an interesting speedrun in the sense of routing than it is in execution.
Yeah.
A lot of the bosses, playing them optimally is quite the challenge, but the stages themselves, as you might imagine, are relatively straightforward. As long as you know the route, once the route is as ideal as it can get, it goes roughly however it's going to go.
Yeah, the bosses are definitely a big part of it, and the deaths. Just avoiding deaths or getting good enough RNG to not have to die more than once or twice in a run. I've already died 3 times or 2 times. Okay, so here's Bacon Sponge. He's my favorite boss. So you can see he's a giant sponge that he's going to shoot little strips of bacon at me. And this is why I'm using the lasers, because if I were using the flamethrower, every time I hit one of those strips, I would... Oh, that's a weird pattern. Really weird. Every time I hit one of those strips, it would stop, and it would not hit the boss sprite, so I have to use the laser here. Oh, that was almost not a 3-cycle, that would be really bad. There is also an arcade version, a Sega Master System version, and then a bunch of random PC versions. This is different than the Master System version. This is where the game really ramps up, so I might not be able to talk as much.
Yeah, this game was released by Tengen, which was one of a handful of developers that produced unlicensed games. They're perhaps better known for Tengen Tetris and RBI Baseball and Gauntlet. So, if anything looks familiar in that sense, it's because this was made by Tengen as well.
Ooh. And Author Blues and I both, we have a podcast on speedrunning. We actually did a whole episode on this specific game, which is one reason why
Did
I
a
wanted whole hour and 15-minute episode on this.
On this game.
So, check that
Surprisingly, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, this level... Oof. Yeah, that was a bad pattern. It's fine, this level's going fairly well. That room is the hardest room in probably the whole game to not die in. Just the way the enemies come out of that, they always end up cornering you somewhere or shooting. As you can see, the projectiles are faster than my body now, so that sucks.
And as of the next stage, the enemies will all be moving lightning speed.
Yeah. This is probably the hardest stage, I would say, in my opinion. But the next 2 are still not that easy. This boss can also... Oh, that's bad RNG. The boss has really rough RNG pattern as well that can change. I'm getting low on lives, so I might need to be a little more cautious now. Those aliens, man.
They'll get you.
They'll get you.
What would you say makes this the hardest stage in the game? Just the tight spaces?
Yeah. So this guy can go up or down or forward. He will be weak. Okay, so he's gonna go down. You can one cycle him, but it's really hard because again, the flamethrower. There we go. 2 cycles is actually pretty good. And I got an extra life, so that's good. That guy can move up or down or wherever. He can stay in place, go up or down, and then those projectiles get in the way. And again, you kind of need to kite them in the right way, or get rid of them, because again, if the flamethrower hits one of those when you're trying to hit the boss sprite, and you're just gonna hit the projectile. So that's the frustrating thing with the flamethrower. But again, it deals the most damage by far. So you just have to deal with the fact that it's programmed in an odd way.
It's easy to underestimate this game just based on the fact that, you know, only a certain number of enemies on screen, and every enemy dies in one hit, except for bosses, obviously. But this game, the AI somehow gets smarter than you as the game goes on.
Yeah, it sucks.
And not only that, but as the stages go on, the enemies get faster and faster to the point where you either have the choice of trying to make progress or standing completely still and killing enemies as they come.
And you can see
those are sometimes mutually exclusive.
And this was actually rated by IGN as the greatest game of all time in the whole universe. So
that's true.
A lot of people don't know that. We got 4 lives, which is a good buffer, because the next level and a half can take some lives. Luckily, you gain lives fairly easily. If you game over, you have to start the whole stage over again, which I don't intend to do, because that's not fast. That's called being slow. That guy really wanted me. So it's always it's kind of a tense pulling between you wanting to do your precise movement that I do in the first 3 levels, where I'm basically going at exact angles everywhere, and then reacting to these enemies that are faster than you, so you can't stay as committed to that. So you get you're constantly in balance between not knowing what's coming up when the screen comes, and so I do kind of like that because it makes the speed run harder every time, or different every time. So that was a pretty tough boss right there. As you can see, the flamethrower is very powerful. I used to use the laser on that, and it probably took a good 15 more seconds, maybe 20 more seconds. So this is the final stage. The boss of this level, I came up with a strat after AGDQ. I think Chad might have helped me, or Author Blues, and essentially, again, the flamethrower. This next enemy this boss will have projectiles coming at me, but I'm going to use the flamethrower because if I can kite them in the right way, I can kill him about twice as fast as I could with the laser.
Yeah, so what he's saying is that the final boss has shots that home in on you.
The
so
second
rather
to
than
last boss.
Yeah, second to last boss. So instead of destroying the projectiles as he did with an earlier boss, what he's going to do is he's going to take a suboptimal weapon for bosses that throw projectiles, but he's going to try to just get the projectiles to stay out of the way for long enough for him to put the boss down.
I forgot to get that guy, so that was pretty bad. Where am I? I'm getting confused now. I just got lost. Oh, that was really bad. That's what happens when you gotta talk while you do stuff. Okay, that's not good. So again, there's a lot of deaths. A really good run would have 2 or 3 deaths, but I think the world record currently has like 5 or 6 deaths because I had new strats. So the world record is kind of open for grabs soon once I can start focusing on it. Oh, so we are almost at the boss of this level, and then we'll have the final boss. Yeah, you can see that the hitboxes are weird. When they're coming out of that wall, I can feel safe going right up against them, even though their sprite is moving through mine and should kill me. And here is the toughest fight in the game, so let's see how I do.
I believe.
should have been dead. Why aren't you dead? See, now, there we go. Good enough. I mean, that was better than a lot of attempts, but not as good as my practice, so. Now here's the final boss. This might terrify your dreams, and I'll tell you when to hit time. It's when I can stop moving my player. This thing is weird. So, boss is also really easy, because he doesn't really do much. It looks pretty awesome. And time.
Nice.
13:44.
Nice.
What was the time?
I'll tell you when it comes up on stream.
13:44.
Nice. That's about 10 seconds off world record, so that's pretty good. I think my best time is 13:31. So, you run this game. I'd say a good 13:15 to 13:20 is a good final time to get. So I would love to. I'm more than open to helping more and more people learn this if they want. It's a really easy game to learn. It's a very consistent run. And for every follow I get, I will free a puppy from a villain. I don't really know what that means, but
Good sales
I will.
pitch.
Yeah, I'm basically a solid salesman. So, yeah. And then I always thought as a kid that these two, because you can play as the guy or the girl. I thought they were brother and sister, but they start making out here, so I don't think they are. Hopefully, so, or maybe they are. Who knows? But that is Alien Syndrome. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. On to
Thanks.
Cobra Triangle, which is awesome. So you guys definitely should watch some isometric sailboat fighting game.